This is Franco, and this video is going to be about my WorkBee CNC project. And I just want to start out, I have to apologize. I know that the videos here kind of maybe seem a little confusing. I've kind of jumped around from, I started out with a really well organized video on how to assemble the mechanical kit, and then the videos kind of became a little bit less formal and a little bit more erratic. So my apologies. Long story short is when I start these projects, I only have maybe 50% of a plan. The rest of it is all just, enthusiasm and gusto. So that's kind of where I've been at the last couple of weeks, messing around with this thing. I've been trying to figure out what to do next. So I'm going to come clean. I'll give you the update here. So last night I rigged up the electronics as best I could, and I actually decked off the spoil board. And believe it or not, that was super easy. I used the Centroid CNC control, and I used the Intercon software. And I pretty much, it's no exaggeration, it required literally 3 lines of Intercon programming to create this whole toolpath that did this pocket. I selected a tool, then I used their pocketing cycle, gave it the dimensions I wanted, and then the third line, I don't even know if that counts, the third line is the last line of the program. So it took me 5 minutes to write the program to deck this off. Worked great. It's one of the reasons why I like the Centroid software and the Centroid products. And the little router worked, right? So I got this Makita Router. A lot of you have been asking me about that. Why did I go with this type of router? Why didn't I get a VFD? Well, I wanted to start with one of these because I think this is kind of like what a lot of DIY folks are going to go with. They're just going to buy, a standard trim router and begin there. So I wanted to start there, and I may get a VFD eventually, and if I do, great. Then I'll have a trim router to throw in the toolbox. Or I may stay with the little Makita. We'll see how much I use this router. A couple of you asked how this router worked during the decking off, right? So when I decked this spoil board down, I didn't really have a high feed rate, so it took about a half hour to do it. The router worked great. It didn't even get hot. I kind of expected it to get warm after running that long. It did not. And the reason is, the whole time it's running, it's sucking air through it, so it blows air out down around the cutter. So it's basically an air-cooled spindle, and that worked fine. Downside is it blows dust everywhere, which, if you saw the video, that was the biggest mess I've ever made in the garage, so that's another story. But yeah, went with Makita, rigged this thing up. I'm using the stock motors, and I literally have I have the Centroid board just flopping around here, loose in the wind. I have these extremely cheap TB6560 stepper drivers, everything's just double-sided taped together here to a piece of wood. Yeah, it's kind of a mess, and it actually kind of irritates me that this is like this right now, but yeah, so here's the deal. So I want to put limit switches on this thing, right? Which is pretty easy. I actually bought the little brackets and stuff from Bulkman to mount all the limit switches, and I can tell you it's a slam dunk to do the X, to do the Y. It's easy. I could have those limit switches mounted in 20 minutes. The problem is the Z axis. The way the limit switch mounts on, it's up underneath here, right? So it's pretty much impossible to mount that limit switch while the router is assembled. So I have to disassemble the router, tear it apart, at least tear apart the X-axis, disassemble it to mount up that limit switch. And that kind of irritated me. I didn't really want to do it yesterday, but I have to do it because in order to use all the features of the Acorn, the Centroid software, I have to have limit switches. So I think that's going to be the next project that I do here. I think I'm going to tear this thing all apart, and mount those limit switches, and I will try to make a proper step-by-step video for that. I'll also, I'll talk about how I routed all the cables and everything through here once I get that far. So if you're watching these videos, thanks for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, like specific questions that you want me to answer while I'm making these videos, please leave me a comment, and I will try to work that into the process. I think as far as wiring, I will make a video here where I talk about step by step how to wire up these really inexpensive TB6560 type of steppers. I'll do that. But really, what I really want to do is put these clear path motors on here. And you can see they're comparable in size, right? They're similar in size to those steppers. But these clear path servos are going to they're going to run these steppers right out the door. This servo's, it's way more powerful, it has way more accuracy, it's faster, it's more efficient, it's smoother, it's quieter. There's like, dozens of reasons why this thing is better than that thing. So really what I want to do is get to the point where I can install these servos and shoot that footage. But a lot of you are going to use the stock steppers when you build this, and they'll work. It just won't be as awesome as having servos. But these stock steppers will work just fine. I used them last night when I decked off that spoil board, and it did the job, no complaints. And some of you asked me about rigidity. I'm pleasantly surprised at how rigid this WorkBee kit is. I thought this thing would be kind of springy. It's not. It's doing pretty good. And someday I'm going to throw a chunk of aluminum on there and cut that and see what that looks like. Let's see, other things. Dust collection, right? Okay, so I just realized last night that is extremely important. So what I did is I took a trip to Home Depot, like I often do, and I found this thing, the dust hopper. I think it was around, I'll tell you how much this cost. It wasn't real expensive. Hang on here. Dust hopper. I think it was $40. So this was $40. It came with the hose and some adapters. Basically what you do is you snap this thing on top of a 5-gallon bucket, and it traps all the dirt inside the bucket. It doesn't actually get sucked into the shop vac. So this thing is like a little, it's like a poor man's dust collector. And I am going to use this type of hose to build a dust shoe. So the dust shoe is, I'm not cutting anything on this router until I get this dust shoe situation figured out, because it was just too messy. So that's another thing I need to get into. So got to work on that. But so that's about as much of an update as I guess I can provide here at this point. It's really the purpose of this video is sort of to apologize a little bit for being such a train wreck here with this project, and to solicit your questions and feedback. If you have any specific questions you want answered, or any real critical points you want me to touch on as far as the next couple of videos, please leave me a comment, and I will work all that out. Oh yeah, I never even talked about the spoil board. So how did I do the spoil board? I'll give you a quick update on that too. I literally just cut a sheet of MDF and cut it to be 4 foot wide and made it so it fit in between the rails. I slid that in there and I screwed it down here on the edges, and then I cut another piece of half-inch MDF. That's what I used, half-inch. I cut another piece of half-inch. I put it on top and I glued it in place. I ran a few screws in it just to suck it down. Pop the screws out, and that's going to be my spoil board. And that's about all there is to it. I'll run screws in that, whatever I have to do to hold the work pieces down. And I'll just keep decking off that spoil board until it's gone. And when it's gone, I'll drop another piece of MDF in there and start all over again. So I don't know. There might be better ways to do a spoil board, but that's how I'm going to do it for now until I come up with something better. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Appreciate all your comments and suggestions. I really learn a lot when you guys ask me things and tell me things. It's a big help. Thanks for doing that. And I'm going to cut it right there. So there it is. Status update on the WorkBee. And stay tuned for more videos. And stay tuned for more videos on these things, because this is really what I'm excited about making work. Thanks.